Today for our reading, we are going to work on retelling. Readers can retell stories to help others understand what the story is about. So we're going to work on retelling the story Tacky the Penguin so that you can tell a grown-up or someone in your family or a friend what the story is all about. So this is one of our longer ones, but we've been in school for lots of days, so we are super smarties. Tacky the Penguin. We have 12 things to put in order, okay? So let's read what we have so then we can work on getting them in the right spot. Tacky sang for the hunters and his companions joined him. All the penguins hid. Tacky sang different songs. Tacky marched differently. Tacky dived differently. Tacky greeted the hunters. Tacky was a hero. The hunters ran away. Tacky marched for the hunters. Tacky did a dive for the hunters. Tacky greeted differently. One day, hunters came. Okay, so let's take a look at the book, Tacky the Penguin. Now, we've read this story, but sometimes it's a good idea to think about what events happened and where they are in the book. So we see Tacky, and we see that he is an odd bird. That means a little bit different. And so we see he's not like his friends, not like his companions. So it says they greeted each other politely, but Tacky slapped him on the back and said, "What's happening?" So Tacky greeted differently. So in this picture, you see just the penguins lined up in the back and Tacky saying, "What's happening?" Then we saw that, what was something else Tacky did differently? Tacky marched differently than the other penguins. So right here, where you see Tacky saying 2.5, 0, is number 2. Tacky marched differently. What did he do next? Do you remember? Tacky dived differently. So we're going to take our picture of Tacky diving and the other penguins diving. He dived differently. Let's see if we can make this a little bit bigger so you guys can see it well. And there was one more thing it told us about that he did differently than his companions. He sang differently. Tacky was an odd bird. Now, after we saw all the things that Tacky did differently, something happened. One day, hunters came. And when the hunters came, all the penguins hid from them. But when the penguins hid, Tacky didn't, did he? No. He walked right up to those hunters and he slapped one on the back and said, "What's happening?" So Tacky greeted the hunters. Then the hunters are saying, "We're hunting for some penguins, right?" And Tacky said, "You mean those ones that march so nicely?" And Tacky marched for the hunters. Tacky marched for the hunters. Then the hunters are really confused. Then he said, "You mean those penguins that dive so nicely?" So he did a dive for the hunters. Then he sang for the hunters. And the other penguins joined in. So the hunters ran away because it sounded so terrible. And after they ran away, Tacky was a hero. So let's Retell that one more time. Tacky was an odd bird. He greeted people differently. He didn't shake their hands. He slapped them on the back and said, "What's happening?" He marched differently. 2.5, 0. He dove in the water differently. He sang different songs. How many toes does a fish have? One day, hunters came to the penguin's home. All of Tacky's companions hid behind an ice block. Tacky greeted the hunters, slapped one on the back and said, "What's happening?" And the hunter said, "We're here to catch some penguins." Tacky said, "The penguins that marched so nicely." Then he marched for them. Then he did a dive for the hunters. Then he sang for the hunters and his companions joined in, and they sounded so terrible that the hunters covered their ears and ran away. After that, Tacky was a hero. So you are going to work on your retelling strip and retell this story to someone at your house.